Well, good evening and welcome everybody. I'm Jenny Nowak with Plus One Solutions Remote ABA Supervision. And tonight I have one of my trainees, Aquisha Dixon, who is going to tell us all about using compassionate care in ABA so that we learn this as trainees and don't wait until you get those letters after your name. So, Aquisha, take it away, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All righty. Just gonna share. Okay. Uh-oh. I'm trying to share it. Can you see that, Jenny?
We can see it, yes.
Okay. Hi. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties.
You're doing great.
There we go. I'm trying to get this slide together or this screen. There we go. Okay, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so today's training is on compassionate care, beating burnout in clients and staff. And so before I start training, I just like to begin with a little introduction with who you are, where you are in your ABA journey, whether it's school or working on your supervision hours, and why does compassionate care matter to you? And so I'll begin, Jenny. As you said, I'm Aquisha Dixon, one of Jenny's trainees. I am currently in school. I'm also working on my supervision hours. And compassionate care matters to me because it's a big part of what we do. I feel like ABA wouldn't be successful without compassionate care. I don't think anyone would want their kids around if you lack compassionate care. So we probably wouldn't have clients either. But that's my spiel.
Christina, did you move so you could talk to us?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I love
I'm
you.
babysitting at the moment. I thought it was an hour later because I saw Central Time and I was like, oh, 7:30, not realizing
Oh, yep.
that it already adjusted my calendar. That's my fault. So I'm babysitting 8:30. Yeah, so my name is Chris. I'll introduce myself. I'm Christina Smith. I'm actually former trainee of Jenny's. I have my master's in Edu Psych with ABA. I'm gonna did all my hours. I'm an exam away from being a BCBA. I delayed it until October after 2 attempts, but so I said, you know what? I just need some more time.
Yeah,
And I work now as a K2 resource room teacher. So I thought this would be a really great, this resource just to have the sense of finding that balance of behavior providing care for children and behavior setting, but also like finding ways to, be compassionate, not just so rigid as sometimes academics can be.
absolutely. Thank you, Christina. It's nice to meet you and
Nice
good
to
luck
meet
on that
you.
PCBA exam.
Thanks. Good luck with school and your supervision.
Thank you. All righty, so we'll jump right in. Some objectives for this training, explaining what compassionate care is, explaining the importance of it in ABA, introduce and explain the three pillars of compassionate care. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-awareness intervention plans. And we're going to do some clinical hands-on application where we role play scenarios. All righty. And so what is compassionate care? Well, I looked through a lot of different definitions and ways of wording it. And I love this definition. It's from Taylor and all 2018. And she defines it as compassion takes empathy a step further by bringing action to empathetic response. In this regard, compassion converts empathy into an action aimed at alleviation of suffering. And I love this definition because it takes empathy to a different it goes past empathy. So empathy is just, saying I understand what you're going through, and I'm also feeling that emotion. I'm feeling it with you. And then compassionate care is saying, okay, but now I'm taking action to alleviate that suffering. And then suffering is a catch-all term. It could look different from client to client and colleague to colleague, but you take action to make their lives a little bit easier. Okay, and so why does compassionate care matter in ABA? One, we have an ethical obligation to act with compassion. So one of the core principles for our framework for our ethical code is to treat others with compassion, dignity, and respect. That's from Penny and All 2023. Also, compassionate care matters in ABA because, as Rodriguez and All 2023 stated, it improves provider-client therapeutic relationships. It improves program acceptability, our clinical outcomes experience by our clients. And so we want to ensure that we have a good rapport there with our clients and our staff, their experiences and their outcomes are the best as possible, and that we're fostering, an environment of communication and understanding so that our program is not only accepted, but we're also meeting the needs of our clients and making sure, that they feel good while we're doing it. And then lastly, Chimera 2021, I think I'm saying that name right, says that compassion improves the overall job satisfaction and happiness of BCBAs and behavior techs. And we know that we can get burned out in this role. And so compassionate care is going to help alleviate that burnout. Okay, a quick interactive learning question. So, Christina, if you're willing to, would you please share a time where you witnessed or participated in a compassion fail? And then what were the results of that lack of compassion? And if you think things would have turned out differently, how, if it would have been met with compassion? And how would you handle the situation differently in light of compassionate care?
Yes, cool. I think time I had compassion. Sorry, my lights are off here. A compassion fail. I think sometimes when kids are overwhelmed and I assume like I'm tired, and I think that's where like end of the day, end of school year, week, that's where I feel like if I have compassion fail, that's usually what happens. And what happens is I feel like what's the result of it? Nothing gets done, nothing gets resolved because the thing is we're just cycling down. It's a back and forth, it's a power struggle. How do you think things would have? I think you're my compassion first, focusing more of like the why behind the what mentality. It probably would have like been able to remove myself enough to go, okay, do I need to check myself? Is this a me problem? Or is this something that a child needs and something, therefore, we're not looking at so much of this isn't working because it's not working. It's more going, well, why is it not working? It's problem solving. And therefore actually making sure I was like the Maslow over balloon, the notion of like basic needs, security, structure, and that. How would you handle a situation differently in light of compassion care? I think, it's the act of empathy. I think goes back to that notion of how would I handle it differently is trying to empathize. Like, oh, I know this kid every day after lunch has a problem, but they also aren't fully potty trained. I work in K1, and some of us we have intellectual adult mental delays, so like they just got potty trained as kindergartners before that, and so we had to kind of, actually my students, we had to work through the situation of how do we set them up for success with a bathroom schedule that it reduces problems other areas because they don't know yet how to verbally say or communicate through a visual aid. I need to use the bathroom. It was like so simple because we were like compassion first, we're able to resolve it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. You hit on some good points with the empathy and then the feeling stressed yourself. And I won't get into that because we're going to talk about those things, but that was great. Thank you so much for sharing. Jenny, do you have anything to share or? Okay, I'll keep pressing. Okay, so there's a lot of information that goes into compassionate care, from our gestures, our actions, even the way we feel. Just so many things that can affect our compassionate care. And so for the purpose of this training, though, with limited time, I've managed to break it into 3 pillars. One being connection before correction. Number 2 being behavior plans with people, not to people. Number 3 being regulate you to support them. And with these 3 things, I feel like I've captured, I'll call it the meat and potatoes, but really the important stuff of compassionate care. And so I've consolidated all the important stuff into these 3 pillars we're going to talk about right now. Okay, so number one, connection before correction. So anytime that we're establishing a relationship with a new client, we want to make sure that we're going slow enough to ensure that our clients are feeling safe and comfortable with us. And so we want to prioritize having that trust, our clients feeling safe, building good rapport. So you want to introduce yourself, but you want to know, you have to know that an introduction and a smile is not enough to jump into, skill building and behavior changes right away into things like that. So you want to build a genuine connection, be fun, ensure that you're moving at the right pace. Some clients you might have to go a little bit slower for. What you don't want to do, though, is jump right into skill building and behavior changes. And I know that it's our job and we want to feel like we're doing our job and we're helping. But step one of our job is to first build rapport and make sure that our clients are feeling safe. So, because if they don't feel safe with you, then or you don't prioritize building that rapport connection first, then you'll probably have your client shutting down, and you're not able to get through your sessions. Okay. Some more on what we should be doing. We should be getting buy-in through genuine connection. You may ask yourself, how do I establish genuine connection? And it goes back to, the previous talking point, making our clients feel safe, seen, and heard. And when we do this, this will internally motivate them. And so they will see us as we're not just there to give them demands or fix them, but we are there, or provide solutions, but we're actually there for them. You also want to make sure that you are acknowledging their experiences before focusing on goals. So you want to use validating language. Some of this might sound like, I can see how that's frustrating. I'm learning just like I'm learning you, just like you're learning me. Modeling vulnerability and curiosity. You can also ask questions like, what's one important thing about you that you would like for me to know? And so this shows the client that, yeah, I'm asking you, I might be unfamiliar, but I care, and I'm asking you things that you care about too. And so this will show them that you care. You also want to use active listening. And so you want to fully listen and not just listen to understand. And then to show that you're actively listening, rephrasing a little bit of what they said. You're saying that makes you feel like this. I understand that, something like that. You also want to make sure that you're honoring their autonomy. So I know it's not always possible to offer choices, but whenever possible, you want to make sure you're doing it. And it could look something simple in session like, would you rather play with the puzzles or the blocks today? And then for ABA centers, I know that they're different, but the one that I just started working at, they have it where if the client doesn't want to like do anything, then we can't make them. So it's like absolutely no controlling them to do anything. You just say, okay, you don't want to do that, then we'll do something else. And you ask them. So they actually make us do that. So it's kind of good. And then last but not least, definitely you want to lead non-therapy interactions. I know professionalism says, you have to make sure you're doing the job and not just goofing off, but non-therapy interactions, I feel like that's a part of the job too, as part of building rapport. It doesn't have to be for an hour, but just even with your staff members, we'll be BCBAs one day. We don't want to go to our RBTs and say, hey, we need to do this and that. And you haven't even asked them, how's your day going today? You want to seem like you want to care, so those are some of the things that you can do to get buy-in. Some of the things that you should not do To get buy-in is through compliance-driven interactions. And this could look like control, coercion, or intimidation. Examples could be, first you need to do this, and then you'll get that, without offering any kind of connection. And I know that we use like reinforcements. I'm not saying like that, but using it to like control, or saying sit down or you won't get a break, or what was the other one? Use your words. We don't whine here. Those are all unacceptable examples, and quite literally a job done poorly at compassion. So we want to make sure that we're not doing that. And the reason why is because they have long lasting effects, and we are there to help our clients, but we could be making them worse. These methods, these compliance driven interactions, intimidation, all of those things could cause like a trigger freeze response where our clients shut down. They might run away from you. They might completely like zone out and just freeze and not be able to do anything. And all of these are some things that could make their behaviors that we're trying to improve, it might make it get worse. And then another effect is you undermine trust and emotional safety. And so it could lead to ruined relationships and a lack of trust moving forward. And if you do that, then you probably wouldn't have a good foot to start off with, when you try to go and build that rapport, because you have to work with your clients, you have to work with your team members. And if you're undermining trust and their emotional safety, they won't want to work with you anymore. Also, it teaches external compliance over internal motivation. And so all of this is doing is reinforcing the idea, is that in order for me to be valued or safe, I have to comply. And we don't want to do this. We want them to engage in sessions with us or do everything out of their own free will because they're internally motivated. Because we know that external compliance is very short term. It's very brief. It won't last forever. But when we have that internal motivation, we can see that happening. It be long lasting changes that we see. And so the last one, it might increase the negative emotions, like I was talking about, that fear, that avoidance of you, that helplessness. These compliance-driven interactions, these are all effects of that. Okay, Christina, how am I doing? You have any questions? I know that's a lot of work.
No, it was good. It was good. I was liking the external versus internal, external compliance versus internal motivation. I think that's something that people just, you could get mentality, and then but they don't learn the skill sets from the outside. They're like, well, why do they behave here and not here?
Yeah.
And it's because they haven't been taught a tool or a skill. They just been told what to do when this person's around, and that's it. And that's the only,
Yes. That's a very good point. Yeah, it could also prevent them from generalizing skills because they just feel like here they need to do it here because they're scared of do it, and then there they don't have to. That's very
exactly good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, the second pillar, behavior plans with people, not to people. And basically this is saying that our behavior plans and goals should be co-created with our clients, families, and our stakeholders. To do this, we need to ensure that our behavior plans and goals are not being dictated by ourselves only. When we become CBAs and we make behavior plans, we want to be getting that voice from clients. If our clients are nonverbal, their family members are a good resource to use. What do they like to do? So when we create those goals, we want to incorporate that voice of our clients. Also, it could look like respecting their cultural values and lived experiences. So we want to make sure that what we're doing in our behavior plan is supporting them while also aligning with their family norms. Also, the language that you use matters. And so when we talk about behavior plans with our family, with the family members and the clients, we want to make sure that the language that we use is always empowering. We never want to belittle our clients or offend them in any type of way. And then you want to prioritize dignity above all in every step. Again, we're not here to fix people, we're here to support them. And so we can practice that by actually doing that, when we work with them, instead of feeling like we're just fixing them and looking at the data, but that we actually look at our client's life and what's important to them. And then also asking them for their permission before starting off with goals. And it could look like, is it okay if we do this today, or is it okay if we talk about this, and then getting their permission first. And then finally, also we're ethically obligated. We have to get permission first too from the clients and stuff always, or the families always. And then also we train and include our direct staff. So whoever is going to be working on these behavior plans with us, want to make sure that we capture their voices as well, because the RBTs, they're working it, they're going to be the ones doing it with us. And so that we want to make sure that we're not, leaving them out of anything. And also just making sure that if they do make a mistake when, delivering the behavior plans or whatever for the day, that we're not correcting them in front of clients or family members. That could make them feel a little bit embarrassed. And I don't feel like that's compassionate. No one wants their mistakes, shouted to everyone. So pull them aside when you can. All righty. That's basically it with this pillar. All it's basically doing is emphasizing autonomy, consent, and then the person's values above the behavior plans. Uh-oh. Sorry, I got your notes. How do I hide these, Jenny?
Check the check mark.
Oh. Righty. Okay. Oops. Okay. And our last pillar, regulates you to support them. Back to what you were saying, your example, you find your compassion, like your compassionate care lacking a little when you feel stressed and overwhelmed. And that was a good point to sector that into this. And you feel like that because, it's going to be hard to help someone else or help them regulate or be compassionate to them if we're already, little patients ourselves. We're only human, right? And so this pillar is made all for that. So the third and final pillar, I'm gonna just say, imagine walking into a session and you feel like very overwhelmed, or you walk into a classroom and you feel very overwhelmed. You're trying to start the day and you have two kids who are also overwhelmed and fighting about something. You're probably not going to be that much of a help to them and regulating them until you get yourself regulated first. And your emotions will lead the room. It is known for people to pick up on energies. And so if we come in and we're dysregulated, we're not going to be able to help our clients, one, but also we're not going to be able to lead the session in a productive way where our clients will take something, and it probably those energies could shift to our clients and make them become whatever we're feeling, stressed or impatient, anything like that. They could easily pick up on it. And so that's why regulation is important. And so we want to practice self-regulation because a dysregulated practitioner could lead to dysregulated sessions. And so we need to be doing this daily during the crazy and the calm times. And so the reason why we want to do this is because during the crazy times, if we're practicing during the calm, we already know what to do. We're prepared for it. I got my plan. I practice this every day. So come on, I'm ready. Also, you want to pause. You're going to take a deep breath. Think about what you're going to say and your tone. And so with that pause, you're going to be doing all of this, and that will give yourself enough time to like kind of recenter instead of like acting impulsively. And that's not something we want to do, because it could get bad really quick, not saying like really crazy, but you might like, snappy or something like that. And we don't want any of that, because I know when I'm like super stressed, my patience is really, really short. But I have a technique for that, a tool that Jenny gave me, and I'll get to that. Also, you want to check your body language. You want to make sure that, your shoulders are relaxed, your jaw isn't clenched. Any of those, signs where people can pick up, okay, you're a little tense. You want to make sure that you're watching for that, because also that could, if you're stiffen up your body like that, it can make you feel worse too. If you're already stressed, holding it all in, just relax. Also, using co-regulation strategies. So if I walk into session and I'm feeling okay, and then I get overwhelmed, and my client is also feeling overwhelmed, I could recenter us and say, hey, let's try breathe, take some deep breaths together. Like that, say, I'm here with you. We're here together. We're in it, just reassure them, give them some words of affirmation and try to breathe through it with them. You never want to meet them where they are. Obviously, that it won't go well. And then I think the most important, at least to me on this list, is to create space for yourself. So having those moments, knowing and realizing, okay, I can only be so much. And when it's time to give myself a break and walk away, I need to do that. And it could be just you taking 5 minutes to stretch or listen to your favorite song or talk to your favorite coworker, whatever it may be. But this gives you enough time to like recenter you, just let off that steam. And when you come back in, you feel like, okay, I can do it. I've taken time for myself. Don't ever try to push through that. Cool. Okay. So I have a little chart here for self-awareness, and it's 5 steps. Let's see. And step 1 is identify internal triggers. We talked about this a little bit. And ways you could do this, just ask yourself, what behaviors frustrate me? What do I feel right now in this moment? And then actions for identifying these triggers. You can journal some of the common triggers that you have at work that's common, to say, okay, I know that these things trigger me. I'm going to be more aware of it now. Or you can use a mood tracker, and it says, okay, at 10 a.m. every day, I get overwhelmed. What's going on? And then number 2, name that default response. So when you have these triggers, what do? Do you shut down? Do you overtalk, get loud? Do you default into compliance-based responses when you're stressed? And then some actionable things that you can do to name your responses is every Friday, or it could be every Monday, look back on that week prior and say, in my moments that I was stressed or feeling dysregulated, did I respond compassionately or was it automatic? And then when you have that, you think that you ask yourself that question, be honest with yourself so that next week you can take it and do better. Mm-hmm. And I use these too. This is good for me. This actually helped me even in my home life, everywhere. And number 3, create a regulation routine. So ask yourself, okay, what helps me calm down? How do I regulate before I dysregulate? And then you can create a pre-session ritual. That's what I was like, practicing that every day. You can have a ritual where you do something before you're about to get stressed. Okay, let me breathe. Whatever you need to do, words or affirmation, whatever that may be. Number 4, build awareness of bias and judgment. Ask yourself, Am I labeling clients and staff, or am I empathizing? Am I seeing behavior as as communication or defiance? And so to take this into action, you can swap languages. Instead of non-compliance, see it as expressing the need for control, and then reflect on cultural humility. Did this make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Last one, plan for compassionate reroutes. So when I slip, how will I recover? Give yourself some room for, okay, if I do fail, what will I do? And then actionable things, practice saying that didn't come out how I wanted to. Let's try again. Something like that, where you give yourself grace too. Compassion starts with yourself. Okay, now we have some scenarios for some um, clinical on-hand activities. So this one is connection before correction. And in this scenario, we have a 6-year-old named Mason who's recently diagnosed with autism. We have his therapist, Jordan, who's an RBT, 2 months into working with Mason, and they're at a home-based session. So Mason's just returned from school and is flopped face down on the carpet. He's ignoring Jordan, refusing demands, and his mom looks exhausted. Jordan was about to start a structured table activity, but Mason is non-responsive. Jordan is tempted to push through the session to meet the data collection goals, but Mason's behavior showed withdrawal, not defiance. A compassion-based approach is critical here. All righty. Do you want to be, you want me to be Jordan or?
Either way.
Okay. Hey, Mason. Long day, huh, buddy? I see you. Can I just sit here next to you for a minute? 10 seconds go by. Do you want to squeeze your squishy ball or just hang out for a bit? I'm okay with either. This is your time. Mason glances up. Jordan smiles gently and stays calm.
He's usually like this after school. He just shuts down.
Totally makes sense. Thanks for sharing that. Let's make today about helping Mason feel safe. We can always do more goals another day. Right now, he needs presence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Jordan was spot on in demonstrating compassionate care while working with Mason. So although the situation wasn't ideal, and it probably made Jordan feel overwhelmed initially, he used all the tools and skills to put his clients' needs above the data, or his job that he needed to get done, and he demonstrated compassion. His voice was warm, it was calm. He self-regulated, taking that deep breath, and he offered connection without any control while being empathetic. So Jordan gets an A+ here.
Yay, Jordan.
Okay, you want to read this one?
Sure. So this is about behavior plans with people and not to people. So our client is Kai, a 14-year-old who uses a communication device. He's been avoiding a social skills group focused on greeting peers and asking questions. The BCBA, Nicole, created a treatment plan update for him. Kai's mom, who's highly involved but used to compliance, is highly involved but used to compliance-based services. So the issue, Kai has been pushing back through refusals and scripting during sessions, and the team has noticed rising frustration. Nicole realizes she's built a plan about Kai without enough buy-in from Kai.
Mm. Okay, I'll be Nicole.
Okay.
Hi, I was looking at some of the goals we've been working on together. I want to know, what's something you want to get better at?
Music. Keyboard. I don't like saying hi. It's boring on his device.
Totally fair. I don't love small talk either. What if we make a goal about learning a song and then sharing it with someone instead? That's still practicing social stuff, but your way.
Yes.
So, is it still ABA even if we're not doing greetings? Yes, it's actually more meaningful this way. When Kai chooses the how, the skill sticks and the joy comes back.
Very nice. Yes.
Yes, Nicole, the BCBA handled the situation well. And so, although she started off a little bit rough, and the client's voice wasn't initially inputted on this BIP, she saw how the mistake was affecting Kai, and then owned up to it. She took the right actions to fix it. She asked him, what's something that you like? And, he said music, and she included that in the goals. So it was a great communication, great validating language, great practice of autonomy. And she even redefined success based on the values and not the standard norms.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. And the last scenario, regulate you to support them. Client is Tyler, an 8-year-old who's highly sensitive to sound and body language. Therapist is Alex, new to the field. Tyler threw a puzzle piece and yelled, "You're so mean." And the supervisor is Priya, who's a BCBA. She's observed that Alex, the RBT's frustration escalate. Sorry, that was all jumbled up. In the setting, Alex entered the session in a rush, skipped their own grounding routine, and reacted emotionally when Tyler escalated. Compassionate care means owning our part in dysregulation. Who would you like to be? You get to pick this time.
I'll be Alex.
Okay. Alex, take a deep breath with me. Inhale, exhale. Okay. Tell me what's happening in your body when Tyler threw that puzzle piece.
Well, I felt my chest tighten. I was already stressed, and I think I raised my voice without meaning to.
That's so honest. Thank you. Okay, let's rewind. Imagine you pause before speaking. What could you say next time to regulate yourself first?
Well, maybe, I need a moment. I care about you and I want to help when I'm calm. And then I could take that breath.
Exactly. Yes, co regulation starts with us. You're doing the work. Great job.
Nice.
Good. Okay, and so this was really really good as well. Although the although Alex is brand spanking new to it, he didn't do well. Priya, the BCBA, did good with grounding him, bringing him back, and just trying those co-regulation techniques with him. She asked for his triggers to model co-regulation, and she encouraged reflective supervision. So she said, "What could you do differently next time?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All righty. So with this training, we've talked about some good stuff. We went over what compassionate care means, why it's important to the field, and the 3 pillars that capture compassionate care. Jenny, do you have anything to share before we stop training?
I loved those scenarios because it gave some really good points from the successes as well as from the difficulties, right? When Alex ran in late and didn't do their typical routine, and then things started going poorly, and then there was the overreaction. It was like, yeah, just this snowball thing. And so you talked about how we have to practice. We have to practice our own calm down. We have to practice our own regulation when things are okay, so that when things are not okay, we can quickly get to that same place. So I thought those scenarios were fantastic and touched on some really good points for us to look at and consider in our own day-to-day practices. Yes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing that. So before we conclude this training, I do want to show you guys a short video to get us back on track. I'm going to ask everyone to stand up with me and do this as we go through the video, practice some self-regulation. All righty.
Get back on track. Sometimes you can get off track, feel unsettled, or feel out of balance. But with practice, you can change that. Let's give it a try. Stand up. Can you feel your feet solid on the ground? You're standing. Notice that. Heavy, steady, tall. Let's get a little off center, a little off track. Tilt your head to one side, then the other, side to side. Don't get yourself dizzy. Pause if you do. You will go off center with each tilt. Side to side, side to side, and side to side. Pause. Now find your center. Get back on track. This time, add your shoulders. Sway your upper body as well as your head. Side to side, side to side, and side to side. Slow down. Pause. Find center again. Get back on track. Maybe do one more set of side to sides with your whole body. Sway, side to side, side to side, and side to side. Pause. Find your center. Your whole body was off track, off balance. Now you've returned yourself to center, back on track, back to balance. With your body in control and at center, notice what you feel from the inside. Maybe you feel a little calm, more in control, on track. Settle in there. Breathe in and so slowly out. Next time you feel off track, out of balance, try tilting your head side to side once or twice and see if you can get back to center, your center. Then in that very moment, settle in there. Breathe in and out.
Quisha, that was fantastic. That is one of my favorite self-regulation videos, and it even works really well for co-regulation. Probably should have had this on gallery for some of our chatting. I do that with groups of folks and give them turns to just go side to side. Right? We've held hands and kind of done a little sway side to side, and it's just really nice for being able to practice when things are good, so that when things are rough, and you might see it in supervision sometime, I'll just go,
Yeah. Yeah.
and legit, my whole body just calms down. And it's because I've practiced it enough when things are good that I can access it really quickly when I'm having a day like Alex or even Jordan, right? Or I don't remember who all of our folks were. And I just need that quick calm down. And that was fantastic. Thank you for this training tonight. Again, those of you who are watching this on replay, that is Go Noodle Flow. You can go to YouTube and go type in Go Noodle Flow, all one word, or split it up. It finds it. And that video was called Back on Track. And I do recommend that you actually stand up and do it when she says stand up and do it. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We really appreciate you showing up or in the video. And anybody who can, I think there'll be a link beneath the video that can give Miss Quisha some feedback on her training today. And if you need information on supervision, you want to learn how to get to do trainings and presentations like this, come talk to me for supervision. I would love to hear more from you. www.plus-1-solutions.com. I think that's right. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.